You know what the sad thing is? I'm actually going to get flack for this statement, despite every writing convention imaginable agreeing with me here. Normally I'd ask whether or not I'd even need to mention the term contrivance to begin with, but knowing the Neptunia fan demographic, I probably do. Hi, I'm OneMan. Like the video if you enjoyed it, share it, subscribe if you are new, click the bell, and select all for more of my content, and let's dive in. The definition we're going with is the Oxford Dictionary's second definition. A device especially in your literary or artistic composition, which gives a sense of artificiality. Do I need to explain why this is a bad thing? Well, to be fair, the definition's a bit S tier, so let me bring it back down to about a B tier. A storytelling mechanic, particularly within stories or art storytelling mediums, which gives a sense of fakeness. In other words, something thrust in out of nowhere. The funny thing is, this contrivance of the Holy Sword ending is also simultaneously a notorious retcon. Literally two of the worst things you can possibly pull off are done in one sitting, and it isn't even done well. The reason why I call the Holy Sword ending a contrivance is that this ending is literally one for one the Conquest ending until after the Noir Uni battle. Not even before. You still have to defeat Noir and Uni, even after there is no justification in story kayfabe for this to happen. The only justification we have for this ending is in real life meta, as it was one of the conditions ESRB gave for Rebirth 2 to be T-rated. Let me know in the comments section if you'd like a video explaining why lowering your rating is a good idea, but I trust my audience to know how demographic manipulation works. Before we get into why the Holy Sword ending is bad, aside from what's already prefaced, we must discuss the counterpart, the Conquest ending. The Conquest ending is easily the best ending Neptunia has, with the Ascension ending being a close second. Generally, the reason being is that these kinds of endings have actual weight and consequences, regardless of canonical meta. The Conquest ending is so empirical despite not being considered canon by the creators, that its consequences cannot be denied. However, it is so graphic and disturbing that Mark II got rated M. So part of Rebirth 2's rating change was an alteration of how the Conquest ending was phrased, on top of this atrocity of an ending, the Holy Sword ending. What makes this ending painfully bad is how it is set up. If you want an ending that debases the Conquest ending, do you really think the cheapest attempt at a subversion is the best route to go? To explain, the Holy Sword ending is where, instead of Noir putting herself on the business end of the Gaia burn, Nepgear tosses it in his sight in a fuck that quote-unquote moment. The problem is, this moment is unearned. There's no benefit to doing such a thing, and normally in the context of the game, it would mean the end of the world, or the theoretical only means to defeat the deity of sin, quote-unquote, would be discarded. Lo and behold, now Nepgear has a random out-of-nowhere MacGuffin that is even more contrived of a MacGuffin than the Gaia burn. The Conquest ending wasn't perfect, because again, the MacGuffin known as Gaia burn. However, what the Conquest ending had was the ability to be the ending to define Nepgear's characterization and made her presence the most imposing and memorable. No other ending made Nepgear stand out as well, which isn't surprising when a series with very black and white morality goes for the darkest shade of gray in the Conquest ending. So it is frustrating when they go back to the same generic black and white morality spectrum that Neptunia inevitably has. Hate to break it to you, but no matter if the true ending is the only canon ending of Mark II Rebirth 2, it is ironically, or rather, the Conquest ending is ironically the defining ending of Neptunia. Most memorable, most stark, and would serve as a rough draft for the Ascension ending. The Conquest ending is every other Neptunia ending's deity of sin. Speaking of which, thanks to being a contrivance of the Conquest Ending, it also decides to be even further handicapped by the same deities of sin's quote-unquote presence, or rather, this mentioned flaw is a lack thereof. The problem with both the Conquest Ending and the Holy Sword Ending is that there is no technical threat from the deity of sin herself. The entirety of her threat is through the CFWs. Even with the revival of the deity of sin, she's been asleep. It even took a bit of dialogue of the heroic revival for the deity of sin to even wake up. If the Conquest Ending and the Holy Sword Ending decided that for the characters to stop fucking around and actually kill the deity of sin, it would be so easy of a mercy kill that it would be like killing an old person in hospice care, or pulling the plug on life support. So yeah, the fact that we have to imply the threat of the deity of sin when it could have had its plug pulled on arrival is the one flaw of the Conquest Ending. It explains why the Conquest Ending is far from perfect. However, unlike the Holy Sword Ending, the Conquest Ending is iconic. But see, when you preface the solid chunk of your story on the same quote-unquote implied threat as the ending you wish to debase, you not only fail at invalidating that ending you're trying to debase, you actually affirm its existence, and even worse, it is done badly because it still pursues the same damn MacGuffin concept as the Conquest Ending does too. If it were up to me, here's what I would do. Instead of the Holy Sword Ending, I'd call mine, quote-unquote, the Blitzkrieg Ending, where again, I'd write the characters doing a scouting mission where one could actually determine the state of the deity of sin. It saves time, it makes sense, and if the deity of sin is truly awake, then we can invent a random MacGuffin, even if I'd prefer using Nepgear's share route. That's the other thing that sucked about both endings. We should have just gone with Nepgear's shares route to begin with. See, the problem with this ending is that it's not even a separate ending. It has every fatal flaw of the Conquest Ending, aside from Noir x Gehaber being canon. It becomes quite apparent that this is literally just a spiteful ending, and you can smell the commercialism from the Holy Sword's contrivance. It tries to be clever and subvert, with Nepgear tossing the sword aside, but instead it entered retcon territory. The term retcon is also known as retroactive continuity. Pretty easy to connect the dots from here. If you're so lazy and negligent that you can't even make a new ending, don't bother making a new ending for a rating purpose. Admit your content is M rating, and either move on, or don't fucking reboot it. I want you all to compare and contrast the Conquest Ending versus the Holy Sword Ending, and for once, don't let your love for your cute waifus inhibit your basic ability to cognitively recognize good writing. I still find Noir and the other CPUs retarded for not going with the greater good that stemmed from Nepgear's original idea and instead chose death before dishonor. Ironically, said trope actually worked against itself because said trope led to a dishonorable death. I see no kayfabe reason for the Holy Sword ending. Even the normal ending sub-ending served more purpose in story kayfabe than the Holy Sword. And that's the saddest part. This ending is awful, and to say the Conquest ending is bad, and then cite the Holy Sword ending as a good ending is fucking retarded, and you should be ashamed for letting your bias overshadow your ability to recognize the most forced of contrivances. So yeah, while the Conquest ending can be implied to be contrived by someone who could pose a remotely good argument, it is not its defining factor, and at least does not enact Strike 2 by retconning the meaning of a previous ending that it strikes 3 itself with by being an entire ending with the most pathetic of subversions. Not everything has to be a subversion to be clever. You can play a unique ending straight, even if you don't make a logical ending and make an ending completely humor based. It would be better than the Holy Sword ending. Nonsense would actually make more sense considering it's Neptunia. If Holy Sword fans are a sign of anything, it is that the bar is pretty low to set, to where it's safer to pole vault rather than bench press in metaphorical standards of writing. A nonsensical but witty comedy angle would work better than that joke known as the Holy Sword ending. I'm pretty sure Neptunia could go Monty Python style, and it would make more sense and be more logical than the Holy Sword ending. Well, enough rambling because I don't want to waste your time too much. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next review where I cover Devil May Cry 3.